Zhanle has broken onto the swimming scene over the past year and risen to the top, becoming the fastest man in the world, breaking the men's 100 freestyle world record at this summer's Paris Olympics. At just 20 years old, Pon grabbed the gold medal in an absolutely stacked field, including David Popovici, Kyle Chalmers, and Jack Alexey, taking nearly half a second off the men's 100 freestyle world record, going a 46.40. Since Pon shattered the world record, today we're going to be breaking down the stroke technique behind what makes Zhanle so fast, and share with you how you can swim just like him. To best understand how Pon swims, we're going to break down his 100 freestyle into 4 different categories: starts and turns, underwaters, freestyle stroke, and my favorite, the X Factor. With insane speed going out at 21.5 at the 50-meter turn in the men's 4x100 medley relay, and then going on to break Jason Lezak's fastest split of all time, Zhanle is a wealth of knowledge to be studied. So without further ado, let's dive into Pon's starts and turns. When looking at Pon's start, he follows all the best practices that I continually remind swimmers. Pon keeps a flat back on his start angled downwards, and when the starter says take your mark, he tightens up his back and forms a perfect 45-degree angle, which is absolutely perfect technique from a swimming perspective on the blocks. Additionally, he keeps his head in line with his spine and doesn't tuck his chin into his chest like many of his competitors actually do. This is important because many swimmers' first movement off the blocks is to lift their head, when in reality, your head should already be facing in the direction you want your body to follow into the water. Next, Pon's arms follow a very similar motion to that of Caleb Dressel's. He pulls his arms back and then comes over the top to gather momentum. But unlike Dressel, Pon gets into the water very quickly and doesn't really launch himself off the blocks, which is unusual and very different from the rest of the competitors in the field. This really could be an area of opportunity for him to be more explosive off the blocks and help catapult himself into the water ahead of his competitors. When looking at Pon's turn, he breathes one cycle ahead of the turn, thus ensuring that he's not losing any of his momentum by breathing ahead of the turn. The biggest takeaway I had from looking at Pon's turn is that when he comes over with his feet, as soon as he hits the wall with his feet, he pushes off on his back, like you would do in backstroke actually. While some swimmers do a full twist on the wall, Pon uses his momentum from his first 50 speed to hit the wall and push off, and use that momentum to twist on his side as he's doing dolphin kicks away from the wall. This is something that I try and emphasize a lot, as there doesn't need to be any wasted time on your turns. As soon as you hit the wall, push off and turn while you're dolphin kicking away from the wall. Which brings us to the next segment, Zhanle's underwaters. When looking at Pon's underwaters, there's really not a whole lot to look at, as he takes a similar approach to Cam McAvoy, knowing that his best swimming is on top of the water, unlike Caleb Dressel, who's more of an underwater specialist. Even at the Olympics, Pon came up at the 10-meter mark, which is 5 meters before the legal limit, which most swimmers do push it to, because most of the time swimmers are faster under the water, but for Pon, he's a specialist on top of the water. Off Pon's start, he typically does 6 underwater dolphin kicks, keeping his upper body pretty steady, not using it to generate any power. Off his turn, similarly, Pon only does 3 or 4 dolphin kicks, and then quickly gets into his flutter kick as he transitioned into his breakout. But what I think is most important about Pon's underwaters, going back to my point earlier about turns, is that he uses 25% of his underwater, or one of his 4 kicks, to twist his body back to its front plane. So he's not wasting any time on the wall, he's doing it during his underwaters and using it while he's making forward progress, instead of stalling on the wall. Which brings us to the most important part of Pon's freestyle, his swimming technique. Now, on top of the water is where Zhanle makes himself unstoppable in the freestyle, and here's how he does it. First, it starts with his kick, and he's got a motorboat for legs, and that was very evident in the 100 freestyle final at the Paris Olympics. If you look at the white water behind his legs compared to his competitors, it was a lot. His strong kick helps power his fast turnover with his arms while keeping it in rhythm with his kick. When looking at his arm turnover, he keeps a very low recovery with his arms, meaning the part where his arms are out of the water as opposed to under the water catching water, and he also has a little bit of a gallop to his stroke. However, he doesn't rise and fall like you would see with many traditional gallop strokes, as his powerful kick and his fast recovery allow him to get back into a stroke without rising and falling. When looking at his breathing pattern, Pon always breathes to his left, and he sneaks in a quick breath as soon as that left arm exits the water. He takes a breath and has his arm back in by the time his arm is vertical and coming over the top. This breathing pattern allows Pon's arm to hit the water very straight, as his body's not angled in one direction or the other, which helps him set up perfectly for the catch phase of his stroke, as neither of his arms are crossing the vertical plane, thus helping him swim faster. At one point in the race on the overhead cam, you can even see Pon's arm slip a little bit to the right, but before he begins his catch phase, he pulls it back and adjusts it, so he's not wasting any time with his arms, and he's pulling straight down by his side and not making an S motion like many freestylers have a tendency to do. When I look at Pon's freestyle compared to other Olympic legends, there's only really one person that comes to mind, and that's Nathan Adrian. While Nathan Adrian's freestyle was a little bit different in the sense that his right arm had a much higher recovery, there are a lot of similarities between the two of them. A couple to point out include their low left arm recovery and breathing pattern, their reliance on the top swimming compared to others in the field, and their build. Now, Nathan Adrian is an absolute beast in the weight room, and I got to see that firsthand when I was training at Cal alongside him in preparation for the 2021 Olympic trials. But I think Pon has actually added a lot of muscle since we saw him last at the 2023 Worlds, and I only think he's going to continue to get stronger as he gets older. Overall, Pon Zhanle's freestyle technique is top tier, and his low arm recovery is something that I think a lot of sprinters need to take into account, as we've traditionally seen a very high elbow recovery in the past, and I think a lot of sprinters need to take note. Taking a quick break from the breakdown to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, Swimming World Magazine. I've been doing a lot of stroke-by-stroke breakdown on my YouTube channel, but if you guys are big swim fans and want to improve fast, then head over to swimmingworld.com. They've got tons of technique tips, race analysis, and interviews with high-level swimmers who will help you guys take your swimming to the next level. But for everyone watching today, I have a special discount link for you guys that'll get Swimming World Magazine shipped right to your door every month. So if you're a swim nerd like me, this magazine's for you. In fact, they're still doing their Summer of Swimming promotion, so you guys can get Swimming World Magazine delivered right to your doorstep for free until Labor Day using the link down below. If you can't get enough Olympic swimming content, then this magazine's for you, so make sure to check out the link in the description to get access to this special discount, and let's get back to the video. Now, for those of you who are new, the X Factor category is essentially, can you contribute to your team or relay in a massive way? Or do you have some sort of special talent or characteristic that makes you absolutely untouchable in your event? And when it comes to Pon Zhanle, he's got the X factor. I mean, did you see the 4x100 medley relay at the Olympics? Pon came through for China when it mattered the most, passing Florent Manodou of France, passing Hunter Armstrong of the United States to grab gold for China in the relay. Pon contributed massively to his relay to help beat the United States for the first time in history in the medley relay at the Olympics. Pon's 49.4 split on the relay was the fastest in history, surpassing Jason Lezak's race from the 2008 Olympics. But Pon did it without a supersuit. Needless to say, Pon gets the X Factor stamp of approval from me, and I'm super excited to see where those four guys go over the next 4 years as we head in to LA 2028. Now, something that we didn't talk about in this episode of Stroke by Stroke is the controversy surrounding the Chinese swimmers and their doping at the 2021 Olympics. And there's a reason why we didn't talk about it, because Pon wasn't involved in it. I know there's a lot of chatter online about the legitimacy of this swim, but after breaking down Pon's swim, it was clear to me that he's got the speed necessary to break that world record. This wasn't a fluke. In an interview after the Olympics, Pon said that he didn't want to go too fast at the 2024 World Championships because he didn't want his competitors to know what he was capable of. And he for sure surprised everyone. Over the next 4 years, the 100 freestyle target will be on Pon's back, and I'm very excited to see where we can take the boundaries of the sport. If you like this stroke by stroke analysis, then make sure to subscribe to my channel. We're going to be doing a whole lot more of these. And with that said, we'll see you guys all next time.